Hello and welcome to this edition of the Under Center podcast. I am your host, Darmar, of course, and I am joined by Fionn Malloy as always. Fionn, how are you?
I'm wonderful, Dar. Thanks for having us on.
No problem at all. No problem at all. Sure, listen, it makes sense to have you on rather than talk to myself for about an hour or so.
Yeah, well, we spent enough time together this weekend, so I'm surprised we'll have anything to chat about at all, to be honest.
Well, look, listen, we were in the car, but I was asleep.
You were on the way back, all right. Yeah, you poor fella. You do more running as a referee than you do when you're playing for us, you bastard.
I do. Well, look, it wasn't even just that. It was also, I was out the night before celebrating anniversary. I actually didn't think I was going to be going to Derry the night before, but I'll blame our driver for that, getting us there 2 hours early where I could have had a bit more time in bed. But that was first a refereeing assignment, and I have to say it was not as terrifying as I built it up to be, which is always good.
Mm-hmm.
That means it just gets so much worse. when it's not a Vikings game.
It does get a little bit. You're lucky that the two lads we have on the show did a good job. They were well up for most of the game, so they weren't giving you any lip. Go and see next time now, and the lads are down a couple of scores. See how little lip you get on the sideline then when the calls aren't going their way, huh?
I will just ask to change sidelines to whoever team is winning. Just keep. I want to stay on the happy side. That's all. Well, yeah, that is a nice jumping off point because yes, we are joined by two special guests this evening. Part of the UL Vikings team, one from the defense, one from the offense. We're delighted to have QB Finn O'Donovan on the show. Finn, how are you, sir?
I'm not too bad. How are you?
Doing well, doing very well. I'm sure not as good as yourselves after having that thumping win at the weekend and going 3-0 as well, which is an absolutely fantastic start to the year.
Yeah, it's a good start. You losing a game early in the season can put a damper and doubts in the head. Starting off 3-0, you can't hope for much better.
Fiona, is he targeting us there a little bit, saying losing a game early in the season?
Oh,
did you do that on
purpose? Look, it's as the Pirates know, all the players of the Pirates know, it's not new territory for us. We've been in this boat before, so we'll keep the head down. We'll be all right.
It's low-hanging fruit now, to be fair.
Yeah, it's easy.
But we are also delighted to be joined by the offense, but on the defense, I should say, Evan Quigley. Evan, how are you, sir?
Fantastic. Thanks for having us.
No problem at all. We have 3 defenders and 1 offensive player here on the show tonight. So I guess the show will be quite defensive heavy on content for sure. So Finn, you might as well kick the feet up for a little bit. Just relax. Cool. Don't worry about it. Well, look, listen, let's get straight into the game on Sunday. 37-8 win against the Vipers. Like I mentioned, myself and Fiona were up there reffing at the game. We got a front row seat to see how you did, and an absolutely brilliant start. And Evan, I'll start with you because it was pretty much at the start of the game where it was the defense that dominated and gave the ball to the offense in such great field position, and a defense that sort of dominated for the whole game. Must have been happy with the day's work.
Yeah, if you looking at the stats here in front of me, if you look at the work, especially the D line we're putting up and the linebackers, it's just tackles for losses everywhere. Was the first drive, was that the blocked punt, or was there a turnover in the first drive? I think, but the lads, everyone was just giving everything they had, and it was giving the offense good field position as well. If you look even at the offensive stats, the yards actually aren't that high, or sorry, I would say the attempts aren't actually that high because the field position was always good, and it just shows the importance of it. Even on special teams Josh Ryan returning punts and kicks and things like that, he was able to set the lads up and they were able to finish off the drives, which is probably the most important part of it.
Yeah, Evan, you must have been quite proud as well towards the end of the game. I know Derry got a score right at the end, but a couple of drives, I think that the drive before that, they managed to turn the ball over and get it right down close to where your end zone was, and you guys had a great defensive stand there to hold them out at one stage. So always good for the defense to get that kind of good running games and build the confidence going.
Yeah, for what was it? It was actually, it's a sore spot now, Aiden Maher. He's up at the Wolfhounds camps and things like that. He's one of our captains. And on the day, he had 94 rushing yards, and he went back in and said, go on, he'll get 6 more to get the 100 on the day. And I'd say that's all that was going through his head because he forgot to hold on to the ball. And the Pirates then, or not, sorry, the Pirates, the Vipers then obviously started off, was it the 6-yard line or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
And Jesus Christ, the line just ate them alive. It was just serious work for him.
Was it as difficult for you to get your head around ball position playing only one way as it was for us trying to figure out where to place the ball at times?
It was weird at the start, but I didn't actually mind it. I thought it was actually decent enough. In terms of, right, there's a turnover, it's kind of, or a kick or things like that. It's kind of annoying trying to, walk to the other side of the pitch and things like that. But I didn't mind it at all, not to be honest.
Evan, sorry, go ahead.
That was just the first time I've done that now, and I didn't really mind it at all.
Yeah, it's a nice facility. It's a nice facility they have down there, isn't it?
Yeah, well, grass is a bit long, things like that. But being able to actually play on like most teams in the country, like I think we're the only team who actually have a dedicated American football pitch. Most teams play on rugby pitches that are 110 yards, so it's only 90 yards of room to work with on the field. And but actually being able to play 100 yards, I think it's much better.
Evan, did you guys have a sense? You mentioned a little bit before we got the show going that the Vipers were very run heavy on the day, and obviously you said the full credit to your defensive line. They were really super stout, and it can be a tough day for the offense when that happens. Did you guys have a sense of how the Vipers were going to play this before you arrived? Had you done any kind of pre-work on how they were going to set up, or was it more a case of being able to adapt as a defense on the day and kind of lean on that strong defensive line that you guys have?
Yeah, well, look, we knew going in it was going to be very run heavy, very power run. We were talking, like, even our next game was Razorbacks. We're expecting something kind of similar, and that was kind of the talk of 2 games in a row against very power run heavy teams. So coming into it, like, we played them last year and it was a 10-all draw, and it was same thing again, a lot of power running. We didn't actually really change our defense. We kept the same, defensive line, adjusted the play calling slightly. But with the D line we have, we don't really need to make that many adjustments.
And Finn, on the offensive side, obviously a very productive day for yourself. And like Evan mentioned, with the field position, there wasn't probably as many attempts as probably you're used to in a game. Just 8 of 11, though, for 143 yards and 2 touchdowns. And quite a good day for yourself, and so much so that you got to, sort of sit it out there towards the end of the game and let the backup come in. But I want to ask about I think it was your first touchdown pass with the blown, not the blown coverage, but it was a cornerback blitz that left your wide receiver open. Was the play initially always to go there, or was it just an opportunistic sort of situation you found yourself in there, having your wide receiver so far open?
Well, the first play of that drive was just a run, so I could kind of see the defense and make sure that we knew what they were doing and they'd cover 0. So next play, I just knew what I wanted to do and kind of had an idea of where I wanted to go. So when I snapped the ball and I just saw the corner coming and our man was wide open, there was no way I was going to not take that chance, and luckily connected, and Reese drove all the way down the field then to get his first touchdown in since 2017, I think he said. So he was fierce happy.
You made poor Dara do the running as well. That was down his sideline. Poor fella had to get in his bike pretty sharpish.
Yeah, I did. Well, I probably needed a bike to keep up with him at times as well, Jordan, that too. I wish I had one. But I think he definitely owes you at least a point for that, then throwing his first touchdown since 2017.
Yeah, I mean, he deserves it. Like, he's probably the smartest, definitely one of the smartest players on our team. Like, he has the knowledge and he's been there for years, so he definitely deserves it.
Yeah. And look, coming into this season, like we've mentioned at the start that you've you guys have had, which has been absolutely fantastic. But coming into the season, after the disappointment of losing the bowl game last year and missing the chance to get promoted to the SPC, how did you find the off season in terms of getting that hunger there for this season and wanting to go that one step further to gain promotion?
Yeah, I mean, watching that last year, watching the Westmeath lads get the medals and then lifting the glass bowl, and we were just stood there at the side of the pitch, just forced to watch them. Like, I mean, it gave us enough fire for this season. Like, there was no pump up needed. Like, we just had it there. We got to work early in September as soon as the college started to get ready for intervarsities and kind of instill our plays and get people down to the pitch. And yeah, I mean, we had that hunger from day one after watching that, and we're more than determined to hopefully not have a repeat and make our way to the SBC if all goes well.
And Finn, you mentioned that you had a couple of guys there that have been there a long time. And I think one thing that certain college teams in Ireland have suffered with, certainly Trinity, for instance, is that retention of players, not just season to season, but obviously a majority of the students being there, but also once kind of this time of year where the exams set in and some guys go home, whether it's back up the country or for you guys up to Dublin maybe, or wherever they're going back to. How have you guys dealt with that kind of flux of players, not just season to season, but during the season? Do you guys feel like you have good retention there, good continuity in the squad?
Yeah, I think we definitely feel it sometimes. Like some trainings, I know myself when summer comes, like I'll be back home in Cork, so I won't be able to make every training. So that it's not ideal, but like we deal with it and we know it's coming. So we just try and get clicking, get everything going before that happens. And when it does happen, we lose a few players, but ultimately everybody at that point, we hope at least, is invested in the team and wants to win. So they make the journeys. Like one of our captains there, Aidan Maher, our running back, he's on work placement at the minute, and like he's in and around Cork, but he makes the travel every so often, every couple of Wednesdays, and it shows on the pitch.
And are you guys majority students, or do you guys have legacy players, alumni players as well?
I'd say we have a good mix. Like there's definitely a good few students, but we have a few veterans and a few fellas that aren't in college but went to UL. So it's definitely a good mix, but I would say it kind of leans on the student side.
And Evan, I want to ask there a little bit just about the travel side of it as well, which is kind of probably the worst part of sort of playing football in the country, because being in Limerick and obviously being in division, because you don't have Cork in your same division, you find yourself a little bit isolated. So your away days are quite long days. Derry is a perfect example of that. I'm just looking at your fixtures here. You've got a game coming up in a couple of weeks in Dublin. You also will be let me just have a look, see here very quickly. You have the Jets at home, which is handy enough, but how do you find sort of the travel side of playing the game and sort of making the long trips around the country?
You really do get used to it after a while. Like our closest neighbours in this division is Kildare, which is maybe 2 hours for us. We played them home and away. Luckily, thankfully, we'd only one trip to the north this year. When we heard that the Razorbacks, the Jets, were coming up, we were kind of thinking, oh, Jesus Christ, we could get landed here. But our only trip, thankfully, was up to Donegal, Derry. We all went up the night before anyway, stayed over, and then so at least we were fresh then for the Sunday. But we're used to the trips to Dublin now at this stage. When we were in the SBC, that's what most of our away games were up to. And then we'd have one trip to the north, either the or the nights every year. So it's handy enough to get used to.
Is that what you guys tend to do? Do you tend to go the night before, or is
For-
kind of the Dublin ones maybe?
No, if we have one up in the north, we'd usually have one a year that we'd head up to and we'd stay the night before. We didn't actually for the bowl last year. That might be the reason we lost. But for the Dublin trips, Kildare, Louth, things like that, yeah, we'll just drive up on the day. We'll get a bus.
And any tips or tricks? Do you guys kind of leave all the lads to go and relax or listen to the music or whatever, or is there a kind of a pattern or a schedule that you guys like to stick to while you're on the bus? Any games or anything going on, shouting and roaring?
You know what? I could give you a million guesses about what we were doing the night before the Vipers game, and you'll never get it. We have a rookie DB on our team now. Dennis Wang is his name. He's from China. Sorry. The night before the Vipers game, we all sat down and played mahjong for about 2 hours.
Is there any travel mahjong sets? Can you get that now on the bus now the next away trip?
We'll have to look into it. It was shy.
Perfect. Lads, I'll ask you both on this one, and I'll go to you first, Finn, and then Evan, if you want to answer afterwards. But sort of, all the teams in your division now have played a couple of games, and you've seen a few of them. Like, for example, the Rhinos in week 1 beat them, and then they come back and they do the business against the Razorbacks. The Razorbacks obviously had a lot of hype winning the first game. They've lost the last 2. The Mavericks now are on a roll of 2 wins in a row, and an absolutely huge win on Sunday against the Jets, going with their other huge win against the Razorbacks the week before. But, is there any team that you're looking out at the moment thinking that these are going to be the team that you could possibly, I don't want to jump the gun saying possibly play in the bowl, but they're definitely one of the teams you're keeping an eye out for?
The marquee game, Dara. Which is their marquee game?
Thank you. The marquee game. That was the word I was looking for.
Yeah, I mean, we played the Rhinos, and they have amazing defense. Like, I'd say they maybe missed 2 or 3 tackles on the day. Like, they make every tackle. Crusaders have a savage offense. We didn't get to see Jordan Farrell on the day, so maybe that worked in our favor. And then the Louth Mavericks, they're looking scary. Like, they won 33-0 and then 50-something, like, big wins. So in my head, they're the 3 to look out for. And I feel like any one of them 3 we could see in the bowl. I can't really say too much on the Mavericks right away because they had Jets and Razorbacks, which all due respects, but they haven't been, top tier so far. But like, they're looking like a good outfit, a good comfortable squad. So we'll have to see how they do, and hopefully it doesn't matter who we see in the bowl.
Evan, you'd go along the same lines as that, or is there any other team that you have an eye out for at the moment?
At the start of the year, if I had to make a bet, I'd say it was ourselves and Kildare in the final. Then all the rumours started flying of, the Razorbacks have 90,000 players, and they're after recruiting from every team in the country. And you're thinking, right, what do these lads have? Now they haven't got off to the best start, but I won't discount them at all. Like, they're under a new head coach, under a new regime. They played 2-3 games, give them a chance. They're a team I'd still be looking out for. But ultimately, I think Kildare is the next up. Louth have obviously got off to a ridiculously good start, and I've talked to a few of their boys down in like a Bulltown's passing clinic and at the Rod Woodson camp, things like that, and they have some serious players, but they have 18, 19 players. They went 7-1 last year, and then towards the end of the season, I think they lost their last game and then lost the final. Like, the attrition, just playing. I was chatting to one of their corners, and he said he has played every snap on offense, defense, and special teams. Like, doing that for a whole season just takes a toll on you. We'll see what they're like at the end of the season.
Do you guys think Division 1 is the most competitive division in Ireland at the moment? Top to bottom?
Yeah, I would say so. Just because SBC seems to be like a 3-horse race every year, and who can kind of get that fourth spot in the playoff. Like it's usually Rebels, UCD, Admirals, and then Division 2 is teams rebuilding and kind of getting their feet set. So Division 1 seems to be like the best mix, the closest challenges.
And Evan, there's been a little bit of a drive this year, and kind of it's building a lot of podcasts ourselves, really trying to focus it, getting to interview you guys. It's a cool new thing that we're trying to do and get everybody aware of what's going on. Are you guys getting any more involved in terms of watching what's going on? Maybe not just in Division 1, but like you mentioned, Division 2, the scores that roll in, and then the SBC as well, the Premier Division. Are you guys keeping more of an eye? Do you like how the kind of the social media aspect of maybe some of the leagues has kind of taken off a little bit in the last year?
Yeah, I've played a lot of sports, and I've never seen social media as good as it is ran in American football in Ireland. Like, lads who are, and you're hearing things about lads like up and down the country you've never laid eyes on, or you might have played them once or twice, and every team is posting their stats and their MVPs, and there's fucking cool graphics going left, right and centre. And like a league that has a few thousand players has has 3 podcasts, and they all get listened to. It's just I've never seen anything like it, and it's growing the game. Now, if they could do the second website a bit better and keep track of what we're doing, go a long way. But look, that's all still a friend by the clubs.
Sure, look, we'll do our bit to keep the scores coming in, so at least that's all you need, maybe. And look, there's plenty of pages that are doing updated standings, so it'll be grand. But like that, yeah, it would be great to sort of get, because I think they tried it. They tried it last year, and obviously it all depended on teams sending their stats in, but they did have those stats leaders on the website last year, which I thought was very good. Even though it was missing my name when it shouldn't have, but that's because we weren't taking air stats of their games, so that's my own fault that we weren't doing that. But anyway, look, I want to actually ask you a question, because it's something that I've seen in the past couple of weeks, and look, from you guys that have started so well, maybe from what you've seen and the teams that you face, maybe you might have an idea of it, but we have seen a lot of blowouts in the first couple of weeks of this season in all divisions, and we've seen teams sort of struggling on offenses as well, and look, ourselves included as well in that too. But obviously, with you guys being such a settled team and having so many players come back from previous years, how important have you felt that's been to have that like large core group of players there that has been able to continue the good work that you've done from previous years, and then you've sprinkled in rookies here and there to sort of obviously top the numbers up and sort of make yourselves better? Whereas you've seen teams like you mentioned the Mavericks, who have had a huge turnover of players and coaches. The Jets have had a turnover of players as well. Look, ourselves, we've had a huge turnover of players. You've seen the what's their names? The Trojans have sort of started from again, sort of trying to build things up, and those things that takes time. We've seen that teams that have been able to have their core group have started this season better and have started this season stronger. And maybe it's going to lend ourselves to have a more competitive end of season, where these other teams that are taking a little longer to get ready have, will be able to get it right before the end of the year. But how so I go back to the question, and I'll say, how important do you think having that core group and having most of the players from the previous year back again to sort of keep that good work going on?
Well, if like ourselves, we were that team last year. We didn't have a core group of players. We had a 3-year hiatus. There was two seasons that weren't going ahead because of COVID, and we were full of rookies last year. And thankfully, most of them have returned, and we've recruited again. So we still have our core of rookies from last year. We were a very inexperienced team, and we got off to a very slow start. Like, we only beat Wexford, I think 12-6. We lost to Trinity, and then we drew with the Vipers. And then with 16-0, we lost to Westmeath, and then we finally were able to, get things going. Thankfully, we've kept that core of players. We've added in a lot of rookies. Like, we've on defense especially, we have 2 or 3 rookies starting. Offense, there's 2 or 3 rookies starting. And once, thankfully, like we saw last year, we were able to get going as the season progressed. And I can't remember what referee crew said it, but they turned around and said the difference from the Trinity game that we lost 6-0 to our last regular season game against the Westmeath, they said it was like night and day, and it was all the same players. I can see the exact same thing happening to all the other teams that are doing the same thing, like the Razorbacks, who have a massive new squad trying to gel together, trying to figure out what's going on. Towards the end of the season, they are going to be a different team, and they can't be discounted.
Yeah, Finn, are you sort of in the same sort of mindset as Evan there with that?
Yeah, big time. Like last year, I think we were 75% rookies or something. I think I heard that somewhere. And like it was big time rookies. But this year, on offense, we have our starting lineup has 1 rookie, who is our guard, and we've a good few rookies that we can sprinkle in. Like we've got a good running back in Josh there, and a good few wide receivers too. And we have a nice few rookies on defense, but we still have that core set of players from last year, and it's definitely helped because we all know what we're doing and how we're doing it, and we all know the system. So it's kind of had an effect on this season and allowed it to run a lot smoother.
Yeah. And look, listen, like we said, we'll see what happens towards the end of the year, like that, when teams get more comfortable. And I guess like when that thing, and we've all been through it when we've been rookies, the first time you get hit in a real game is sort of the wake up call and the reality of it, because training can be as good as it wants to be. When you get hit properly in a football game, you're in it. Well, let's hear a little bit more about yourselves, and Finn, I'll start with you on this one. And what got you interested in playing American football in the first place?
So back when the Chiefs were in the Super Bowl against the 49ers, that was the first game of football I ever watched, and I enjoyed it, and I wanted to get into the sport. So Netflix, Last Chance U, QB1, all those series, I went through them, and I was like, really want to play this sport. So I looked up if there was a league in Ireland, and there was, and I looked at if there was any clubs near me, and there was Cork, but I knew I was going to UL at the time. So I waited, and there was COVID, but eventually the club got started up again, and I managed to come down to one of the trainings, and from there, like, I was just hooked. Started as a wide receiver and moved to QB this year, but like, I don't see myself ever leaving the sport for a long time.
And Evan, what about yourself? What was the thing that dragged you into to play American football?
The thing, it's kind of funny how it comes from full circle. When I was around 7 or 8 years old, my dad's like, "Oh, geez, Limerick are having an American football team, and they're playing a team for America." And he brought myself and my brother down to Pitt to watch the Vikings play some college from Wisconsin. I didn't know what was going on, obviously. Then when I was around 13 years old, I bought Madden 25, which was Madden 12, I think, at the time. And I was like, geez, right, I better pick a team here. So I turned on Red Zone. I was like, oh, geez, yeah, there's the Saints. Oh, yeah, I'll pick them, sure. And that's how I started getting into football. But then when I was in second year of college, well, I'm down playing rugby, and rugby season ended, and one of the lads was playing for the Vikings. And he said, Jesus, like, come on in, let's have a crack. So 3 or 4 of us went in from the team then, and we just got hooked straight away. It's just, I played a lot of sport. I've never had as much fun as I've had playing football.
Sorry, Fiona, you were going to say something there.
No, sorry. We're not on the same page here today, Dara. I think we need them walkie-talkies the refs gave us the last day.
I think we do need them back.
Now the AFI lads gave us. I don't know if you lads spotted. You might have been concentrating too hard on the game, but they gave us these walkie-talkies. Me and Dara felt like the pros, I have to say.
No, when I saw Dara talking to himself, I was like, all right, okay, something's going on here.
That's nothing new, Evan. Just now I had an excuse that people didn't think I was acting odd. So that's all right. I got away with it for a day at least. It's grand. It's only when I answer myself that's when things get a bit weird. So it's all right. But look, that's so in terms of, personal goals for the season, obviously you want to make it to the bowl and you want to go ahead and obviously get promoted. But is there any sort of personal goals that you have now? You don't have to give them away if you don't want to. You can give the politician answer and just say, I just want the team to win. But Evan, I'll start with you first on this one. Sort of, is there any sort of things that you're looking to do this year to sort of, I guess, improve on stats that you've had last year, or just, improve all around? So what are you looking for yourself?
Well, look, obviously the main goal is we want to win the bowl this year. After losing by 3 points in the final last year, that is all we wanted. That's all we fucking thought about now for the last year. But in terms of personal goals, like last year, unfortunately, I got unlucky that Brandon Atwell decided that he didn't like my elbow, and I was out for a few games then. But what did I get? I think I only got 2 picks and a sack last year, so if I improve on that, I'll be happy enough.
And Finn, like you mentioned, it is your first year at QB, and obviously you started very, very well. But is there any sort of personal goals you've had for your first stint as a quarterback?
Yeah. So my first year, I was a wide receiver, and we're a very run-heavy team. So when I got it into quarterback, I kind of I knew how it was for the wide receivers, and I want to get in there and kind of spread around the ball and share the love a bit. So I want to get my passing yards up. They've been a bit slack now, besides Sunday's game. But I just want to, as much yards as possible, share the touchdowns all around, and the main goal, get back to the bowl and win it well as well.
Go on, Finn. You have 248 yards through 3 games. What do you want to finish on?
We'll go for the big goal. We'll aim high and we'll go for 1,000 yards.
You have 256 on the ground as well. Go 1,000.
He's putting you on the spot here, Finn. And look at him. He knows exactly what he's doing as well. This is definitely not the first time you've heard these requests.
Yeah. He knows he's going to go 1,000. He's just trying to play coy there. He knows.
Finn, look, if your offense gets the ball off the defense like they did against the Vipers, and they're as clinical as you were on Sunday, you might not get a chance to get those yards. I guess you'd be happy enough to just take the wins and walk the touchdowns in from about 10 yards out, I suppose.
I might have to suffer a bit. And
what a cross to bear, huh?
such a hard life. Look, Evan, you're getting no thanks on this defensive side for it at all. You're just getting grief because of it.
That's Darren. That's classic offense. You never give the defense any credit.
Never, unless we do something wrong.
Yeah,
then we get it.
Exactly.
Then they know exactly who we are. But let's look at. I didn't actually ask you before we wrap things up here. I want to know from yourselves, who has been the toughest team you faced so far in your time playing American football, and then also who's been sort of your toughest opponent, whether that's Finn for yourself, whether that's the defensive line or a defense in general, or then obviously Evan for yourself, a wide receiver who's given you a challenging game for sure. But I'll start with Finn first on this one. Toughest team or toughest opponent? Who have you got?
I mean, if we're going of all time, then we played Centre College last year and we just absolutely smacked. Like I think they had 50 points in the first quarter, which was just insane. Like couldn't touch them. But if we're keeping it to Ireland, then UCD last year, my first year, they had a fair few starters in the intervarsities game, and it was tough. And then Westmeath as well. Got to give them their fair dues. We had a good few battles with them last year. They took the majority and the bowl. So we're hoping to get back up to the SBC and hopefully see them again. But yeah, I would say probably either that UCD side or Westmeath.
Yeah, Evan.
It's a very easy answer for me. As a DB, I've given up 3 touchdowns in my career. All 3 were to Cork on the same day in my second year. Their receivers and Stephen Hayes were just fantastic. Jan Decini especially. You can't touch the lad. He teleports off the line. They were just very good receiving core back then anyway, and I imagine it's still very similar.
Yeah, it is. I caught their game against the Panthers a couple of weeks ago, and they were very clinical in the air and on the ground as well. That offense is very good, and look, we saw with their result on Sunday against UCD as well, that they are definitely a team up there this year for sure. But lads, look, listen, it's been an absolute delight to have you on the show. We really wish you the best of luck for the rest of the season. No doubt I'll be up in Castleknock when you're up playing the Rhinos. I'll be there watching that game for sure. Hopefully not in a refereeing capacity. Maybe
I think I am refereeing that game.
Is that one of our assignments? Is it?
Yeah, I think so. I might be wrong. We definitely have a Rhinos game, so it could be that one.
Oh, right. Okay. I'm officially unavailable for that game because I'm actually watching an American football game that day, so I don't think I'll be able to. But listen, Evan, Finn, thanks so much, and hopefully when we are having a bowl preview game, we can have you guys back on to preview your guys' final when you are definitely in there, because I'm rooting for you.
Oh, don't jinx us.
Thanks very much for having us.
Thanks very much.
I have totally jinxed you there because I actually went for the Mavericks as a dark horse this year. Totally, I'm just trying to jinx you. Just trying to get the yips going there. That's all it is.
It's like when the Talking Balls boys call for a sweep and then they always lose. It's just, oh god.
Well, they didn't call a sweep last week, and then they lost by much more than they've lost any other game.
Yeah.
So that was a bad move. That's why I don't like getting into predictions on this show, because when we all naturally just go for the Pirates to win every game and it doesn't happen, then we just look a little stupid, don't we?
I know, I'll back you.
Well, look, lads, again, thanks so much for taking the time, and we will definitely be speaking to you before the end of the year.
Thanks so much, Adam.
Thanks for having us.
No problem at all. Fionn, as always as well, thank you, sir.
It's been a pleasure.
That's where we're going to wrap up this edition of the show. Like you probably already know at this stage, there is no American football games in Ireland this Sunday because it's Easter Sunday. So we'll be back next week and we'll look ahead to game week 6. I think it is game week 6 at this stage, which will feature a certain UL Vikings playing. They are going to be playing. I have the fixture list here. I'm after losing it. They're playing the Razorbacks at home on a Saturday game as well. Oh, we get some Saturday games, and then it's going to be Trinity College actually at home to the Wexford Eagles on the other Saturday game, and then a slate of 5 games on the Sunday too. So I know it's tough to have a week without any football, but listen, you get 2 days back in the following week, so it's definitely worth the wait. But look, before we go, make sure you're following us on our socials at UnderCenterPod on Instagram and on Twitter. That's where we kept up to date with the latest shows. If you're watching us on YouTube here today, make sure you have liked that video and subscribed to the channel if you haven't already. Comment below and let us know who you think is going to win the Division 1 Bowl this year. Also, if you want to listen to us on the go, Under Center Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, that's where you'll find the show to listen back to. But like I mentioned, we are going to wrap it up here. So until next time, stay safe and we'll see you soon.